I guess as a leader of an organization, I see it all the time where people have marketing experience. They may have general marketing experience, but they don't know how to translate that when they want to cross into a different industry or maybe the growth marketing or product marketing title. And I'm like, you have it. You just have. Welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast, powered by the African American Marketing Association. Each week, we'll bring you an insightful conversation from some of the best experts in our industry on how to advance our career. Join the collective of Black marketers across the world, advancing their brand as we work towards creating a collaborative community. Hey everyone, welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast. So excited about today's special guest, Chantel George, the founder of Sistas in Sales. Chantel, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself and your career background?
Sure. So, like you said, I'm Chantel George. I am a corporate sales professional with a background in technology and advertising sales. I also lead the largest community for Black and Brown women in sales. Some of the companies I've worked at include Dataminer, an AI firm, Twitter, LinkedIn, Yelp. And so I have a combination of big tech and startup experience. And what I've learned throughout my journey working in sales is that there are very few Black women in sales. There are very few women in sales as well. And so sales is a very beneficial career. It is the bedrock of entrepreneurship. It is the lifeblood of a business. And it's a shame that there are not enough of us there.
Marketing for the Culture podcast is brought to you by the Concord Leadership Group and their new 10-week leadership coaching certification. Coaching helps leaders excel, and learning coaching skills helps leaders unlock the potential of their team. You will learn more about this ICF accredited coach certification in today's episode. So how did you start your career in sales? Because, most people will go to school, will get a degree, and sales is the last thing we're looking for. So how did you get started?
That's a good question. I had a bug planted in my ear when I was a child. My dad was an entrepreneur. He worked for the city for 25 years, but then when I rolled around, he had decided to become an entrepreneur. So I watched him negotiate deals. I was his secretary, and I saw the freedom that having a sales background could do for you. So that was like the initial bug. But my first professional sales job was at Yelp about 10 years ago, and I found that job on Craigslist. And it ultimately was just supposed to hold me over until I studied to become a lawyer. But I realized a few things going to that office. So in 2013, really between 2009 to 2013, there was a big tech boom in San Francisco. And as a part of their expansion to create more jobs and to grow their businesses, to make their investors happy, they created satellite offices in New York. And so those satellite offices were really early offices, unbranded. You wouldn't even know that like a tech company was working out of that office. You may walk past it, think it's just like a regular office. But when you go up in there, you would see a bunch of white guys kind of in like, Bermuda shorts and t-shirts, making calls with the baseball cap backwards and, trying to sell technology. And I walked into that environment from that job post on Craigslist, and I was like, this is giving me very bro-y vibes, but I mean, it looks like where there's smoke, there's fire. Like, why are there so many white people here? Kind of, that was my thought. Like, just being honest with you, I was like, what is going on? Like, is like tech kind of going to be a big thing? So I didn't know. So I took a leap of faith and I got on the phone and I was cold calling people, selling Yelp advertising, and I started to observe that the world around me was shifting rapidly. All of a sudden, the tech industry became the place to be in, but this was all happen chance. It started from a curiosity, and it also was due to my, I suppose, resilience, because being in a predominantly white space can be very challenging and very isolating, but I gave that job 4 years. And because I did, it was able, due to that track record, I was able to really bop around to other brands.
Very cool. Kudos to you for exploring your curiosity and I guess being ahead of the game at that time. So, from your experience, um, I guess what are some of the biggest differences when it comes between inside sales and outside sales?
I was working in inside sales when I started. So I was calling, I wasn't actually going outside. So I was doing all the sales inside. That also meant that I could dress pretty casually. I could, yeah, I was doing phone sales, and as you graduate into becoming more client facing, you can do outside sales, which means you maybe even get on a plane and go and you meet the client, or you do like a nice engagement like lunch or dinner. That's where I really saw myself. I was always imagining myself as a little jet setter, like, going around and meeting clients. So I worked myself up to outside sales.
There was something I thought was very interesting on your website. Can you share with us the 4 observations you gathered while working in sales?
Great question. Well, the first one we already talked about, sales being a predominantly white male industry. I think the second that I haven't spoken about in a while, I'm happy that you asked me, would be it being underserved by women. And the third would be how the higher you go, the worse it is, because the higher you go, the less you find mentorship and the less you find the unspoken politics. And without getting kind of the way and the lay of the land, you can open yourself up to a lot of corporate snafus that you may not even be aware of. And there may be ways of going about certain things you don't know. I've spoken about this concept before in the past, like having the language of business, growing up with the language of business. Let's take a company like, let's say Microsoft, for example. There are people who are the children of Microsoft employees who grow up listening to their parents talk about corporate politics, listen to their parents talk about business, and some of the language, profit and loss, headwinds, tailwinds, all these like financial terms could be just thrown around casually at the dinner table. But if you're like myself, I'm a Caribbean, first generation Caribbean, Caribbean American, and my family isn't talking about those terms, it's like learning a whole new language. So I'm learning it on the job. And, Sis aspires to help you learn that hopefully before you get into these spaces, or continue to refresh your knowledge while you are in these spaces. But that's kind of some of the missing links. And then I would say the fourth thing is about how lucrative working in sales could be. Going back to like where there's smoke, there's fire. I was like, something's going on over here, and something was going on. So, it was a fast track way. Yeah, fast track way to 6 figures. I was like, I didn't think that a telemarketing, in a way, phone sales job could lead to a real, meaty base salaries. But who would have guessed that? You don't know that until you are in those spaces to figure it out.
Yeah, I really like your third point because similar to you, my parents are from Africa, from Cameroon. And, obviously they came to this country, they had me. So, yeah, and I do a lot of DEI work and I talk about language, but you're right. I didn't have those conversations at the dinner table, when it came to corporate America. It was just go to school, get a good job. And, I didn't want to be a pharmacist, a doctor, or anything. So that was another problem in itself. But yeah, really,
Yeah.
even though growing up in predominantly white areas and, learning how to assimilate, I guess K through 12 is a lot different than college and your first professional career job, like outside of customer service and retail. So it's definitely an advantage. And I'm here in Texas, and you see that a lot because you do have people that went to the University of Texas or Texas A&M, and you got 3, 4, 5 generations of young, white men and women. Like that's all they know. That's all they
Mhm.
know. And they just kind of follow, and not just with the history of the school, but as well as the career and if possibly the company. So thanks for bringing that up. Consultants and marketers sometimes need to be coaches. But what if you don't know if you're really coaching? The Concord Leadership Group's program will teach you how to utilize coaching skills and frameworks and how to market your services so you can create a new revenue stream. For more information, go to concordleadershipgroup.com/coach-certification. That's concordleadershipgroup.com/coach-certification to apply for your next course today.
Helpful to be in a room with other Black women and brown women in sales. What do you think? And like before I could really get those questions out, they had already been connecting with each other and like talking about like industry hopping. And um, and one thing that I'm also learning in the process is there's a lot of transferable skills that also exist within sales that people may not know about. Once you realize how transferable the skills are, you could find a job really at any company working in the sales department. So like being able to expose that information to these women and create more of a limitless look on their career was really fascinating. And so I took that momentum and I started looking for companies to host us for more events. And Salesforce was like, we'll host you for the first one. And because they did decide to do that, it added so much credentialized us. And we just kept going and having more and more events and growing and growing. And now we're at 5,500, close to 6,000 members around the world.
So tell us about the membership. What are the requirements? Is there a fee? Some of the benefits?
There are 3 tiers. There's a free tier if you're 0 to 5. There's a second tier, which is $49 from 5 to 10, and then $99 from 10 plus. And so the biggest differences with this is just based upon where you at in your career. Do you need personal coaching, which is what a mid-level seller would need? Do you want to speak on our panels, which is what a senior seller would need? And more importantly, do you just need connections with other women, which all those levels give you access to the Slack community.
Okay. Are you familiar with NSN, National Sales Network?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Were you a member of that organization or?
No. I had definitely heard of it, and I know that they also work to help African Americans in sales and marketing and HR and a few other like really key areas too.
Okay, very cool. Can you share with us some of your growth strategies? Because you just mentioned, I guess in less than 5 years, you have 5,000 to 6,000 members, as well as just major corporate sponsors backing you. So what were some of the things? I feel like you have a natural ability, right, as a salesperson. But can you share with us some of the things that you did to grow the organization?
I think I've just put on really high quality experiences. There's been a big industry supporting engineers and HR, sure, for example, even marketing. There's just a lot of people supporting these departments and these groups, these career professionals. And I wanted to bring CIS up to par quickly to show people that this industry is a big one. It needs to be supported. And so I put my heart and soul into developing really classy, sophisticated, and upscale experiences. And I think the word of mouth around that is why we grew so much.
And has all of your events been in the New York area, or have you expanded outside of New York?
No, we've evented in New York, in DC, in Atlanta, in San Francisco, in Ghana as well.
Oh, very cool. How'd you pull the Ghana one off?
Well, we have an agency. We have a few different agencies that work with us, and one of them is located out of Ghana. So they just were like, this isn't our scope, but we will jump in. And I was like, great. And so someone on the sales team also has a home in Ghana. So she was like, I'll run it. And we just did it.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So speaking of events, you have a major event coming up in September. Please give us all of the details and what can people expect?
Yeah, well, it's 3 days of information and networking, community, and fun. And so it's in New York, and it's the 50th annual Sistas Summit. So it's a big commemoration for us being 5 years old. Um, you can expect keynotes from some of our corporate sponsors like Google and Walmart. One of our keynotes is Betty Smith from the show Harlem that we're excited about. And we are also excited about bringing Essence style activations to the conference. So like a career center that Google is building, a Walmart beauty bar, a bookstore for Black business authors,
Very
coffee
nice.
shop inside, and a Unilever Shea Moisture Lounge. So all of these aspects, I think, also add layers of complexity to us because we are Black women in sales. We're also still Black women. We care about different things. We care about how we look. We care about how we show up. We care about, there's many different layers to it, and we didn't want to just keep it confined to this is a business conference. Come as a business person. Come as your whole, you know.
And the dates and the price point for the event?
September 21st, September 23rd. Our early bird right now is wrapping up. So it wraps up in 3 days. It wraps up on Sunday. And right now it's $4.99 for the early bird, and the early bird VIP is $6.99. But after that, it'll be $6.99 for early bird. I'm sorry, $6.99 for GA and $8.99 for VIP.
All right, thank you. Let's see. I feel like, is there anything that I haven't asked that the people may need to know when it comes to just tech sales, sisters in sales?
I would say the biggest thing is that these jobs, like, especially when it comes to tech sales, and definitely especially when it comes to a startup, if you believe in the founder, you think that the product makes sense, you're able to relay what the founder is saying to their investors, for example, you can pick up that job. You can do the job. I mean, it comes from belief, confidence, and feeling like this product that the person has created is adding utility to the world. Everything else is teachable. The software you use to track your deals, the way that you work with people internally to get a deal across the line, procurement or operations. I feel a lot of people I feel like they put a lot of emphasis on this job being something that no one can do. Only a specific person can do it. Only someone who talks a lot or has this particular personality trait. That's not true. We're just providing products to people who need them. And that's just it. It's as simple as that.
Do you think more people should run to tech jobs in general because of the lucrative salary? Or the
Sure.
so lucrative salary? Okay. Why?
I think it's the same reason why I decided to go into this 10 years ago, because it seemed like there was something happening, and there is still progression happening in the industry. I think there is some more unification happening across industries. So you may start out in tech and you may decide to go to a CPG brand like Unilever, or you may decide to go to a manufacturing brand like Grainger. And these brands are now finally sourcing from each other talent than just staying siloed. And I think finally that is allowing people to feel like, again, they're limitless opportunities, because they are. I see it now a lot. Like, I've seen someone who's an executive at Pinterest who used to work in banking. Pinterest, right? Like,
right.
banking. So I feel like now more than ever, it's not just about, let me get a job in tech. It's because you don't need to just stay in tech to work in sales. You can move around, and you can always make yourself back to tech or go somewhere else. The point is making sure you're working for someone you like, making sure you're getting the salary you deserve, and that there's a work-life balance. And it doesn't matter what industry you decide to do that with.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I like what you said earlier, because I do believe that same thing applies within the marketing industry. And I guess as a leader of an organization, I see it all the time where people have marketing experience. They may have general marketing experience, but they don't know how to translate that when they want to cross into a different industry, or maybe the growth marketing or product marketing title. And I'm like, you have it. You just have to pull it out of yourself and put it on the resume and speak about it in the interview to get that job.
Exactly. It's presentation. It's all packaging.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love it. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Before I let you go, how can people get in contact with you personally as well as the organization?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Send me a message on LinkedIn. And the Chantel George on LinkedIn, and the organization is sistasinSales.com, SISTASINSALES.com.
All right. And we'll definitely have those links in the show notes in order for you to reach out. I know I'll be connecting on LinkedIn and following this journey. I'm so proud of you and what you're doing. I'm so glad this came on my radar and that there's synergy between us. Everyone, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Marketing for the Culture podcast.
Thank you.
We would like to thank our sponsor, the Concord Leadership Group, and their 10-week leadership program, with the next course beginning in September. Remember to apply today at concordleadershipgroup.com/coach-certification. That is concordleadershipgroup.com/coach-certification.